And we're back with more Epstein, talking about the nasty, demonic, evil things he's been doing and he's done. This is part 2. If you missed part 1, go check out part 1 on the channel. It's somewhere there. I'm not gonna yap for too long. All I gotta say is that as a Jew, what Epstein did does not represent all of us Jews. Okay? He was bad. Bad person. And he deserves whatever is coming to him in the afterlife. Without further ado, like the video, comment down below, hit the links in the description, subscribe. This is a serious matter. Okay, let's not laugh too much or make too much jokes in the comments. Real people were affected by this. Yeah, let's go.
Between two phones talking to Bear Stearns and JP Morgan at the same time. So I found it amusing.
And it never struck you about how to end up in a situation like this?
No, that would be probably means I would be too self-aware.
You can't possibly expect me to believe this.
I know. I don't believe it.
You're telling me that during that day, you never had a moment. You sat there and go, what the fuck have I done with my life that I'm in a 6x9 jail cell when I should be on a trading desk or I should be in my $250 million greatest townhouse in New York City, taking calls from the king of Saudi Arabia, the president of China, the head of Russia, the president of the United States, to save the world's population from a financial debacle. You honestly expect me to believe that that never happened?
You're suggesting I was somewhat depressed, and how could this happen to me?
I'm not saying depressed. I'm saying a moment of awareness of how could I get myself into this situation.
No, I would just say how strange that this happens. It's strange. Okay. I'm wearing a jumpsuit and flip-flops.
What color was the jumpsuit?
Brown.
So mind you, he doesn't think, oh wow, I'm in jail because I run a sex trafficking ring. I'm actually a horrible person. How did my life end up like this, running a sex trafficking ring though? He thinks, how strange. How strange. Nigga, like, what do you mean strange? You're a pedo. Yes, it's very strange. But don't you feel like, asking for forgiveness? Apologizing? Alright, bro. Whatever, gang.
Brown.
Maybe I'm a
brown
coward.
Jumpsuit.
Yes.
I notice I don't see you in a lot of brown.
No.
Brown jumpsuit and flip-flops.
Flip-flops, yes.
With no access to books, no access to newspapers,
no access to anything.
You had lived on information.
Except my Almond Joy bars. I had extra Almond Joy bars.
Did you eat Almond Joy bars and things like that because you're afraid of what the cooks did to your food?
Yes.
Is that because of that you were in for the crimes that you were in for?
No, it was just in fact, I was.
Is it because you're wealthy?
Yes.
How did you know that?
Well, people would constantly come if I was passing by or I'd have to go for my medical. People would either ask to borrow money or make some other types of comments about. In the beginning,
what were the comments? At the beginning, what were the comments?
It serves you fucking rich guys right that you're here next to me.
There was nothing about your crimes.
No.
So all this rumor you hear all the time.
I feel like that's a lie, but part of me wants to believe it's not really a lie. Depends who he was in jail with. Maybe he was in the child molesters wing.
About people in prison that commit the type of crimes you commit. You're saying in your personal thing is not true.
No.
It was all because you were rich.
Yes.
And it was all because they wanted to borrow money.
Or get advice. Yes.
Where they get advice to go long.
Yes.
You're telling me
is this time to buy?
You're telling me in solitary confinement they're interested in going long.
Yeah.
Nasty.
They want to know
what does that say about human nature?
Well, what I think that people find, one of the reasons they wanted to keep me in solitary confinement was they're afraid that everybody would want to know which stocks to buy. But what happened was, after this crisis, now it's on the front page of every newspaper.
I don't want to lose this day.
Sorry.
When you first heard...
This is real, bro. Like, so niggas in prison, solitary confinement, one of the most locked down sectors of jail. Before niggas confront you on like, yo, like, bro, you're sex trafficking girls, you're sex trafficking tiny underage girls, teenage girls. Niggas is like, yo, Epstein, bro, I'm not gonna lie. This low stock is looking pretty good. Should I get it? And how long should I keep it? Oh, Epstein, I'm thinking about buying Apple, man. 2013. Who's coming out with the iPhone 3 or some shit? iPhone 3, iPod. I'm thinking about investing, man. This is fucking crazy, dog. If I was in prison, I would have given Epstein a piece of my mind.
Was it Bear Stearns had been kicked into bankruptcy, 6 months before?
No, this is the same time. This is part of the same deal.
I thought, no. Bear Stearns, they saved Bear Stearns and didn't save Lehman Brothers. That's right. 6 months before they had bailed out Bear Stearns, but Bear Stearns was still a zombie.
A shell of its former self.
A former self, but they had quote unquote saved it. They admit. Why did they make the decision in your mind? Why did Hank Paulson and Bernanke what's this concept of moral hazard? Explain to the audience what moral hazard is, and why did they save Bear Stearns 6 months before, and why did the smartest guys in the room decide not to save Lehman Brothers?
It's a good question. The real issue is I'd have to go back when you have these systems to the way your doctor responds to any type of emergency in your body. If they might decide to save your kidneys and let your gallbladder go, because the gallbladder is less important to your overall system. If at that time, even it's not that long ago, the boogeyman was when said, well, what really happened? Jeffrey, what really happened? What is this financial crisis? And, some of the progressives and the right wing blame it on the banks. It was the banks' fault. And it's the fault of this very esoteric, unknown concept of derivatives. It was really the derivatives that caused this financial crisis, because the derivatives...
Jeff, you're a smart guy. I wish I could ask you this in person. What about derivatives make it esoteric? What about derivatives is spiritual? Can you answer that question, Jeff? Because I don't get what's so spiritual about mathematics.
Got somehow out of control and in the Mickey Mouse.
And that was the way you started your road to a billionaire went right through derivatives.
Yes. But derivatives were not the cause. Derivatives were not the cause at all. It's like saying your hair was the cause of your heart attack because it was on top of your head.
So what
when you
was
fell
the
down.
cause?
There isn't, let me say, there's no one specific cause. These are system collapses. Right. So many times when they have to make your death certificate, when you say, well, what did he die from? They'll say heart failure. But if you say, what was the cause of his heart failure? Well, he had low blood pressure, his sugar was high, he was diabetic, he had all these other problems. But they say, no, we need a word on your death certificate. Did he die from brain damage? Did he die from heart failure? That's the financial crisis. Many people said, well, what caused it? They wrote, like on its death certificate, derivatives. But derivatives were not a fundamental, derivatives are not a fundamental cause of anything.
Was it Sunday or Monday? I take it was Monday morning when you made your two collect calls and you were talking to Bear Stearns on one hand and Morgan Stanley on the other.
JP Morgan.
JP Morgan. That was Monday morning. Did you, Jeffrey, being one of the financial geniuses in the world, did you understand what Lehman Brothers going into bankruptcy, the domino effect, that by Thursday, the financial system would be under such extremis that if it didn't have $1 trillion cash infusion in the United States, it might collapse. Did you know that at the time? Did you view that at the time?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah.
Why?
Again, I don't want to bore you or the audience with the idea of it's a medical procedure, but you had system failures. So you'd recognize that if I said to you, did you realize when your father was on the ground and he was clutching his chest and he couldn't breathe, it was a bad situation, he could die. That's how I saw it.
Did you immediately think about the commercial paper market? I mean, the mechanical triggers that actually you had to blow through these circuit boards. Did you know the circuits? Did you understand the circuits? Or did you have a concept of the circuits that were going to get blown through?
Yes, but only because of an analogy to a body. And in fact, from my telephones against the wall with my little metal wires, because the next day I talked to another person in Washington about the issues of what I thought was happening, and I made the same discussion about the...
They were at the Treasury Department?
Yes.
So in a 6x9 cell in...
The phones were outside the cell.
In Palm Beach County, California?
West Palm Beach, Florida.
West Palm Beach, Florida.
That's what your juice diet.
West Palm Beach, Florida. West Palm Beach, Florida. West Palm Beach, Florida. You're making a call to Washington, D.C. to talk to some deputy's Secretary of Treasury.
Someone in Treasury.
Right. Someone in Treasury.
Right.
And that does not, the night before you go to bed, it doesn't dawn on you at all. You never have a moment of self-reflection that, how did I end up on this metal cot when I should be at the center of things?
No, I had a telephone. So I've said, I can talk to, it makes no difference where I am. In fact, I'm still talking to the same person if I was at my home in Palm Beach. But I'm here in jail.
Home in Palm Beach.
I can dial my own phone.
That's bullshit. No, but you can also make 1,000 phone calls. Here you got to make one, and he's got to take.
Think how much better that was. I had to decide who was the right person to call. That was unusual for me because I would have called 20 people.
And
before.
What was the advice you gave?
I said you have a sick patient, and it's very.
One thing I notice about this nigga is Jeffrey Epstein is really calm. Really calm. I wonder how calm he was in the cell, because he can be calm right here, but was he really calm going through the crisis? Or is this the full interview clear up? Yeah, this is the full interview with Steve Bannon. Shout out to you, Tesla.
Much like a sick patient in the emergency room. You can't think about it like your car. People in normal walks of life think about money and things as a machine. And unfortunately, so if your car breaks, cars are always easy to fix. My jets, my cars, if it breaks, I know it can be fixed because it simply follows the same pattern. If this part breaks, you replace the part and the thing works again. People and the financial system are not machines. They can't be fixed the same way. You can't simply take out put some more juice into the commercial paper market, and that's like replacing the carburetor on the car. It's much more, I have a patient who can't breathe, has a stomach problem, can't see, looks bleeding at the same time. What do I do first? I have to think about it as a system. Where's the most logical place? What's the most dangerous place? If your heart stopped, we have to start your heart again. In the equivalent to the money market.
It's weird seeing him actually talk facts.
Why do I have to start your heart again? You need to get your blood flowing. If your blood stops, you're dead. If liquidity, which is the equivalent of blood in the financial system, dries up.
Liquidity is basically cash, putting cash into the
system. Forget about what it is.
Okay.
Liquidity is liquidity. It allows the system, it's the blood of the system. You need to pump blood hard into the body of the economy to keep it flowing. And if you especially when you're worried about someone dying, you're not going to be worried about the niceties of, well, you got the shirt dirty and there was some damage.
Yeah.
Pump in that blood, keep that heart pumping.
When you talked to the person in Treasury on Tuesday, the 16th, did you get a feeling as you were sitting in your 6x9 jail cell in West Palm Beach, Florida, that they were on top of that?
I'm not gonna lie.
No, you can't. It's impossible.
I'm gonna say this too.
Things.
When it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, like, I thought his voice was gonna be a little bit deeper. You know, I thought he was gonna talk with a little more bass. Talks like a Fanuc.
There's no such thing. It's again, the doctor watching the patient die, you hopefully have some confidence that he's seen it before. He recognizes that there are some steps he has to take first before he bandages the guy's finger or worries about what shoes he has on. So you hope that the people in charge, your doctors who are working on the emergency patient, have enough experience and, frankly, judgment to try to keep the patient alive.
Did you think that they had those things, patience and judgment?
They had pretty good judgment, and you needed a lot of luck, just like in the dead patient. You need to, hopefully you put that blood in and it's not too late. And you make some mistakes, but you have to know you're going to have to give it a shock.
In the run-up to the September crash of 2008,
yeah.
I guess you weren't occupied with finance. That whole summer, how long had you been in jail?
Went to jail June 30th.
So the entire summer?
Yes.
Before you went into jail, you were still very active in the financial markets?
Yes.
When I say active, you trade currencies every day, you trade stocks every day. When people,
I don't do any.
Someone like you, or you give advice to people to trade stocks or trade currencies.
I don't trade every day. I think that's like Woody Allen said. You can't beat the bank. So I try to pick my spots. George Soros picked his spot when the pound collapsed. This would have been a great money-making opportunity that passed me by when I was in jail, but that's not how I think.
In the run-up to that, in the spring of 2008, that's when Bear Stearns got in problems, I think, in the spring of 2008, and they decided to bail it out. Did the Bear Stearns guys talk to you for advice at that time, when the big crisis in Bear Stearns?
No, but see, again, unbeknownst to most people, and it's easy to blame people for the financial crisis, like you'd blame someone for giving your father the drink before he had his heart attack. Mm-hmm. But what really happened, the real enemy of the finance system was Bill Clinton.
Oh, shit.
And if you ask me what and who caused the financial crisis...
Nigga, so we just blaming Bill Clinton, nigga? No! Damn, so this whole interview is about the 2008 crash? No, I think he's going to cover more things, but a large part of it is about the 2008 crash, I believe, yeah. Because he has, I don't know, I guess Steve Bannon wanted some more info on that.
Tell you it was Bill Clinton.
Because of what Bob Rubin and he did to deregulate the financial system?
No. Because as of the last time we had our 60-minute interview, you talked to me about home ownership. And you asked me whether everyone
was on the island with Bill Clinton. Yeah, just throw him under the bus like that. It's insane.
So the financial collapse of 2008 is because of hardworking African Americans, Hispanics, and whites who wanted to have a Hispanic collapse of 2000.
And I told you no, it's too risky.
So the financial collapse of 2008 is because of hardworking African Americans, Hispanics, and whites who wanted to have a ownership stake in the society that all rests on their shoulders. They're the culprits.
No, not at all.
Oh. Okay, then
I didn't say they were the culprits. I was pretty clear it was Bill Clinton.
Okay.
Why was it Bill Clinton? Because Bill Clinton wanted to get votes from those people. And he sold them the idea that instead of renting in a house, and historically the values of houses have gone up, and he said, you guys in these local communities who haven't been able to afford a house before, I'm going to show you a way. I'm going to give you a way, because I'm sure I'll get your vote, that you can own a house, because I want your vote. Mm. So what we're going to do is I'm going to let you buy a house, Mr. Bannon, when you really, you're right on the border, maybe, or not even on the border. Your credit is not good. Okay, let's be honest.
Okay.
And it's not my fault. It's not Bill Clinton's fault. But if whatever happens, at the moment your credit score or whatever it is, your credit's not good. Now, normally, you come to me and want to borrow money. I'm a bank. And I say, I'm sorry, Mr. Bannon, I can't lend you money because your credit score is not up to where it needs to be. Hopefully, if you work harder and clean up some of your problems, it will be. But no, what I say to you is, I'm going to figure out a way to lend you, not give you. I'm going to lend you money anyway, though you don't have a good credit score. And don't worry, I'm going to get rid of the term that you don't have bad credit. Bad credit sounds pejorative. You don't want to be a person.
Sounds judgmental.
Yeah, sounds judgmental. So what we're going to do is we're going to call your credit situation subprime. Oh, nobody knows what that means. Subprime. That means prime is good credit.
Yep.
Subprime is not good credit. Less than good credit.
Good credit.
So we'll call it something that people really won't follow. And we'll tell you what. We're going to have people lend you money, though you are a subprime borrower. And I will figure out some government agencies to guarantee your loan, though I don't think you're a good risk.
Yeah, investment.
So
risk.
the banks say, no. We don't want, initially, the bank said, sorry, this is too risky, Mr. President, for us. We're in the business of managing risk. It's not our money. It's the hard-working people's money sitting in our bank.
Okay.
We can't lend to people whose credit is not prime. You're asking us to lend to people who are subprime. And he says, here's the key, if you don't, Mr. Bannon, I'm going to make sure the Justice Department charges you with discriminatory lending.
Oh, wow.
Because you refuse to lend to my subprimers. In business terms, you should never lend to. But what we'll do is I'm going to form an agency called Fannie Mae and Ginnie Mae, just another agency names. They'll guarantee your loan. So don't worry. Don't worry. You don't have to pay it back anymore. Even though and maybe you don't even have to work as hard anymore. That's probably a harsh statement, but these...
all of this is nice and stuff, but when are you going to talk about the fact that you touched kids? Was the 2008 crisis the reason you kidnapped children and moved them to St. Bart's? Or is this just you just dancing around the real elephant in the room, Jeff?
These two
Can I call you Jeff? Is that okay? You're dead. It doesn't matter.
Firms, Fannie Mae, will guarantee the fact that that bank will receive its money. Now, the bank says, wow, best deal in history. I refused to lend to Mr. Bannon, but now he has the big brother, his Uncle Sam. He went to his Uncle Sam, and Uncle Sam says, I'm guaranteeing it. The bank says, I want everybody. Give me as many people as you can give me. Because Uncle Sam is the best credit in the world. Not only it's the United States government. We'll take it all. We'll take as much subprime as we can handle.
He really doesn't like this
because it's the best investment for the moment. It's a strange investment because it has politics that has inserted its way into the numbers. Politics doesn't belong in the markets. But now we're going to have, I want the votes. We'll make guarantees that you who can't get a house normally will be able to get a house from the bank. The bank says, this is the best deal in history. We will package 100, 300, 1,000 of you subprimers, and we'll sell it off to somebody else. And the whole system becomes mired in subprime mortgages. That's becomes the issue.
What do you mean mired? There's just too much supply. It's a supply-demand problem. You get too much supply?
No, it's a very good question. What does too much supply mean? Well, then you get to people, go back to your first question to me. Government leaders. Government leaders know if they're good, and they can do mathematics, they can balance their checkbooks. So certain people in Congress said, well, how do you value these subprime mortgages?
Okay.
The banks say we've been valuing them the same way we've always valued them for the past 20 years. The accounting firms, there's something in this country called GAAP accounting, which is a standard type of accounting. And we account for them the same way we've always accounted for them. If we paid $1,000 for your mortgage last night, when we put it on our books today, we're going to say its value is $1,000. It makes sense. I paid for it what's its value? It's $1,000. That's what I paid for it last night. No. The Congress people said, that's not really a good answer, you know. That doesn't give us confidence that you know what you're doing. Because what happens if you have to sell it tomorrow morning? Something's happened and you have to sell it. Remember, there's a concept of stress tests. Would you be able to value it at what you paid for it the day before? And Wall Street says, that's not the way you can think about this. This is crazy. We always value things at the cost from the day before. And they changed the accounting method, in essence, to say not what it was worth yesterday, but if I have to sell, what would it be worth? That's impossible. So what happens is every bank now has to value something they bought yesterday at lower than they paid. Never before in 20 years did they have to do this. So something they bought at 1,000, on their books was 1,000, is now 990. That starts to, you asked the question about what did I start to think about. Something's 1,000 and 990, this person now has to value it at 980.
When did you first start to get nervous, understanding Bill Clinton and all this? Did you change glasses?
Yes.
Okay.
I changed shirt.
I saw that black. Are you okay with the Yeah, great. I think we're gonna have all kinds of changes.
I'm experimenting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Getting all dualistic on us. First the white shirt, now he's going black, changing the glasses. Do you think this nigga Jeffrey Epstein has mixed personalities?
When did you get a feeling? Did you ever anticipate before it happened something like 2008 could happen?
No.
How could that be?
It's the word I can beat it to death. Is that it's very much like would I anticipate I'll have a heart attack tomorrow? Unlikely.
Was 2008 a heart attack or a stroke? Debilitating.
It's a better. I don't. It was both.
Damn, nigga, was that bad?
Why was it both? Because in fact, as I said, the blood was getting dried up in the system, and the head, which is sort of the central bank, wasn't working. So to some extent, it was a combination. It was a crisis.
Did you see that building up over time?
It's always been lurking in the background. I mean, if you have an older parent, would you say it's possible? Did you anticipate him having a heart attack today? No, you hope things are going to go better and maybe they'll fix it up. The system was getting too complex, and it wasn't based on derivatives, because what people keep forgetting, and as I was just explaining, Wall Street and
Are you following this? Listen. It's really simple. He's explaining it. Make sure you're following it. I'm sure you understand what he's talking about.
In many professions, including Wall Street makes it sound complicated. They don't want the little guy to understand what they do, because they make so much money and they don't do very much. So they couch it in words like derivative and stock options and commodity futures and different types of contracts.
Codes.
It's all everyone is capable of understanding it. It is not complicated. But Wall Street, because they make so much money from doing fairly simple things, needs to make it more complicated than it really is.
We had a very big recession in the early 90s based upon real estate and Japan basically imploding.
Let's again,
okay.
You had a recession in the 90s. I don't know what it's based upon. It's always interesting to look back and say, separate from there's certain triggers. Like there, in the 70s, there was a...
What do you think it was based upon, the 90s downturn? It's clearly there was a huge downturn.
No, I know there was a downturn. That's what I know for sure. I don't...
That's a fact.
That's all. Everything else is sort of speculation about why did he have...
I understand that, but there's some speculation that has 0% probability of being true, and there's others that have 90%. In the range, when you look at the range of alternatives of what could have caused it in 90, and what I'm trying to do is get you all the way up to 2008. Look, you're the smartest guy in the room, right? You know that. Do you think there's anybody in the world today?
Oops, this is going to be a bad question.
No, but do you think anybody in the world today, the Alan Greenspans, the Bernankes, is there any central banker you know, any partner of any Wall Street firm, any guy running a trading desk, and I would take it that would be, or anybody at a...
I hope he's not about to ask him what I think he's about to ask him, because that would be some crazy glaze, man.
Larry Fink at BlackRock, Steve Schwartzman at Blackstone, the top 100 financial guys, and let's throw in a couple of Nobel economists, and let's throw in the best professors at Wharton, at Harvard, at Stanford. Do you think that there's anybody that understands money or understands the world's financial system as good as you?
There must be.
Oh God, no. Yo, you just did this nigga's dick, man. I ain't gonna lie, bro. You just got down on your knees, open. Like, bro, like, so you think this nigga is like the best at understanding money in the whole world, bro? Really, bro? This what we doing right now, bro? All right, man.
But it doesn't come to the top of the head.
No.
You stroking his ego crazy.
Now that I've gotten that, let's go back to 1990. In that arc from
look, we smiling. The nigga feel good.
Wall to
yo, the nigga, I ain't gonna lie, bro. He just stroked his ego so hard. Look how Epstein is looking at it. Epstein wanna fuck now, bro. Nigga, Epstein dick hard as a rock. Nigga say, yeah, that's right, nigga. I get this money, nigga. Yeah, I get this money. Yeah.
2008.
Good.
We started with the implosion
Dookie, this is not your goal.
Tokyo of the Japanese economy, Japanese financial markets. We had the huge run-up in internet stocks, right? We had the implosion of that in 2000. The bankruptcy of Drexel Burnham in 90. Mm-hmm. Implosion of Japan, huge run-up in equity markets for the internet, implosion of the internet in 2000, 10 years later.
He's smart as fuck, though. Mm-hmm. Yes, we know.
And then this run-up through the Iraq War and all that, the run-up to 2008. Every 10 years, it seems like we're in some sort of 10 years before the 1990s was the 70s.
You sound like an astrologer.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
And not a finance person.
You're supposed to be a mathematician. It just seems to me a pattern of every 10 years.
That's misleading. That's exactly right. Okay. Because people like to see patterns. People like to see patterns where there are none.
So a pattern of a financial crisis every 10 years is just in my mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Long-term capital that had to be bailed out back in the late 90s when everybody panicked. And that wasn't a big, that bailout today would look small, and it was a $5 billion or was $30 billion.
Businesses fail all the time.
But long-term capital, the Federal Reserve stepped in.
But I'm saying people go bad. Things go bad all the time.
Yes, you're correct. The audience is watching this, the little guys, they go bankrupt all the time and nobody gives a shit. You know why? They're little.
Yo, damn, bro. Yo, y'all gonna let Steve Bannon talk to y'all like that? He ain't talking to me. He ain't talking to me, nigga. Yo, y'all better fight back.
Things go bad all the time.
Yes, you're correct. The audience is watching this, the little guys, they go bankrupt all the time and nobody gives a shit. You know why? They're a little guy. But when long-term capital management goes bankrupt, or Bear Stearns goes bankrupt, or Lehman Brothers goes bankrupt, people care because it's
an unfair characterization.
Why do you say that?
Because again, it's the complexity of the situation. If you think about you have a complex system. You have your body. Now, in fact,
so
the little guy is my finger.
Come on, bro. I'm not no goy, bro.
This is.
Watch that word, bro. Y'all not gonna be like
the banking system.
Yo, Dookie, don't come into my chat calling me the hard G, bro. Don't come into my chat calling me the hard G. I'll slap the shit out you, bro. I'm not no goy boy.
The system, I can't risk my because remember, it's not
so
only my.
You haven't been able to name.
Hang
another,
on.
You haven't.
What,
hang on. No, hang on.
I was trying to hang. I wanted to see if the hang on worked.
No,
It
you
didn't
haven't
work.
been able. You're not good enough yet. You're like junior wizard trying to do it. You haven't. Yes. I'll say, since we can't name another guy that's as good as you. There may be a couple out there. You're not bragging. You're humble. It had to be sometime. Please tell me there was some time before you went to jail and basically got cut off from daily information in the summer of 2008, that you started to get very nervous that this complex system, that something was deeply wrong.
Okay, first, let's go back. When I say no one understands the system better than I do, it doesn't mean I
You always
understand.
sound like a doctor. You're afraid he's going to get sued for giving a thing.
Yes,
you're not taking on any liability. There's no contingent liability here for your answers.
No. But the word understand is the problem.
Okay.
I don't understand the system. So I don't understand the financial
Will you
system.
please stop? You cannot sit here and tell me.
No.
What we just went through, I'll go through again. The hedge fund managers, the money managers, the central bankers, the commercial bankers, the heads of the investment banks, the heads of all the...
Do you guys understand the financial system? I'm going to ask the people in the chat. Duke, CJ, Botrix. Do you understand the financial system? Because Jeffrey doesn't.
Trading desk, the top economists, and I'll throw in the business school lecturers at Stanford. Of all the top 200, 250, you can't name at the top of your head the guys are at least at your level. You have to understand it somewhat.
No. Sorry. We all don't understand it. No one understands it. It's a miracle. It's that's part of the problem. It's impossible to understand. That word understand simply means if this happens here, that will happen there. It's predictable. Understanding means it's predictable. It's not predictable. That's the problem. It's in complex systems, that was the fascination. Is there a way to tease out some level of predictability?
So even
No, in fact, you would ask the question, it's a great question, which was it a stroke or a heart attack? Now, most people don't know that before they were going to have a stroke, they had a stroke. They just have a stroke. Do they understand why? In hindsight, you go back and you can make lots of explanations. It might sound good. And if you're talking to the working man, you're using language that he'll never understand. It's complex. So he, just like going to his doctor, he says he has a gastrointestinal problem or he has diverticulitis, as opposed to saying, you had a stomach ache, you ate bad food. People don't like to say it in normal, everyman terms. The system had a stroke, and we don't know why.
But you just, okay. Hardworking people, and there's a great social benefit, would you not agree, with having people having ownership in the system?
When you say ownership in the system, it doesn't mean...
Let's start over.
Okay.
Yeah. So flip over your phone too, because
Yes.
I don't want anyone to see
Yeah.
on your phone. So maybe flip it down or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows what the fuck comes up with that phone?
That's correct.
Which one has sent you?
We joke. I don't know if we should be joking about that, dog. I'm gonna let y'all hear what he just said.
In the system, it doesn't mean...
Let's start over.
Okay. Yeah.
So flip over your phone too, because
Yes.
I don't want anyone to see on your phone. So maybe flip it down or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows what the fuck comes up with that phone?
That's correct.
Which one has sent you?
KSA.
I can't.
Yo, nigga said, who knows what comes up in that phone? He said, that's correct. He does. Like, nigga, come on, we making jokes about this shit? Listen, I just have a feeling like it's like in those spy movies, I'm afraid you know too much, so I'm gonna have to kill you. Dun-dun-dun. It's like that. It's like that.
I cannot believe I've got the magic moment when you're in fucking prison or jail, wherever the fuck it is.
It's
in
crazy.
Solitary.
Now, there's a funny part to that we missed, which is said...
Go ahead, tell it.
The funny part is what you asked me...
Is there anything funnier than that?
No.
For black humor, it's
I don't make any black comments. Sorry.
All right.
You asked me...
All right. I think you meant dark humor. Nigga said black humor. All right, bro.
What I was wearing.
That's right. You're too wrapped up in the Me Too movement.
Yes. So I was wearing a brown jumper and a brown pair of pants given to me by the jail with the word trustee on the back.
Because you had qualified to be a trustee?
Well, the funny part was it was spelled Trusty, so I wasn't really sure. I'd been a trustee in many different operations.
I get
but it was
it.
the first time it was actually printed on my back and spelled incorrectly.
Probably had a higher level of being a trustee at that than you had at all the boards.
Oh, you guys don't get it?
Right?
Yes, because
guys
the
don't
trustee
get it?
meant you get two devices to clean your toilet as opposed to
Will you get on a race wars segment on the 17th? What do you mean race wars?
one.
I'm the master racer. Like, oh no, man, I'm God's chosen people, Chaldean. Come on now.
Yeah, but it also meant that
I'm literally from Al Kebulon. Master race.
you had some sort of personal fiduciary own responsibility for oneself, right?
In the jail? You mean?
Well, that's what being a trustee is. That's where they give you two.
Yes, you get two cleaners. I was a trustee in the jail because I was able to teach some of the kids to help them get their GED. So that's how they gave me a trustee job.
Wow.
There's no time. I got to go back to this because I'm like a dog with a bone in this thing.
Yes.
You can't.
Dookie, message me
There's something
on
deeply fucked up with
Discord or X.
At least something.
Well, we know there are things deeply fucked up with this. You will get through in this film,
Right.
but
All right.
you cannot possibly have to sit there knowing that you came from nowhere, knowing that you went to the very top of what is considered outside of science and maybe physics, the thing people most admire because it's like alchemy, understanding high finance. To sit there in what will be the defining financial crisis of our time, like Black Friday or Black
Yes.
Monday, whatever it was, in the Great Depression, and be there at that exact moment, triggered in part by a firm
back
that
on
used to be a
X, I
partner
bet.
and knew intimately well, and it created much of your initial net worth because of. And know that you couldn't, someone who lives on a phone, right?
Yes.
Because you do live on a phone, right?
Correct.
You had to make just two collect calls. You cannot tell me sometime during that day you did not have that conversation with yourself of how the fuck did I do this to myself to put myself in West Palm Beach in a 6x9 cell with a metal fucking bed with a brown shirt that said trustee spelled wrong.
So did I find it amazing that I was there? That's a
Not
better-
amazing, and I don't want to say it was not funny. Oh, I thought it was.
I wasn't funny.
Right.
But
Not amazing.
no, it was incredible.
Incredible in what way?
This-
Incredible, like how do I do this to myself?
No. It's as incredible as me sitting here in this house. They're both just two sides of the coin. That's how I think about it. That my life today is incredible.
Do you consider yourself a stoic?
No. I consider myself a hermit. Stoics are not very happy.
Being a hermit then, being in that 6x9 cell, being in the cell,
Why
qua the
does
cell was not
the
the problem, right?
Why is
Correct.
the interviewer so stuck on
What
little
was the
shit?
problem?
Because he's amazed of like how he's handling like I get it, you know. He operates so high at a financial level that you think he'd be losing his shit, missing out on all the like one of the biggest opportunities in history to make tons of money. But what I think he's failing to grasp, Steve Bannon, is that I believe that Jeffrey alluded to this many times. He was good. He had a plan and he was executing it. So even though it sucked that he was in prison, he still was, in my opinion, what I'm getting from like reading in between the lines, he was making money off this shit. But why does he care so much? He's trying to understand him.
Eating the almond joy.
It's like trying to understand like everyone, like every type of person that's not normal. You're not gonna understand this nigga. His mind doesn't work like your mind. He made it to the top of high finance. he's on the multilateral committee or some shit like that. I forgot what it's called already. But he made it basically to the high finance Illuminati. It's not normal, bro.
Bars.
Because you couldn't eat the food.
No, right. And but remember, my life is.
Did that ever strike you that I can't eat the food because somebody might have done something to it? I gotta live off an almond joy bar, one a day or two a day or whatever. How many ever sneak in a day?
No sneaking in.
Your one almond joy bar, it did not hit you at some time? How the fuck did I do this?
No.
Let's go back to the spring
he knew
of
how he got
2000.
there.
Were you
He
so
knew
wrapped
why he
up in your
got there.
personal issues at the time you were not spending enough time on the financial?
You know why I generally think it didn't strike him as fair? Because from the beginning because he seems very logical. He calculated pros and cons, and he was okay with if the pros and if the cons took him to wherever he went, which is prison. So it's not like he's gonna be sitting down, and he doesn't seem like this type of guy that's gonna sit down for 30 minutes of a day or hour of a day, just walking around his cell. Oh my God, what did I do? How am I here? Oh my! No, he's like, okay, I'm here. Let's call J.P. Morgan. Let's call the company he works for, Beers Martin or whatever at the time, and let's make this money. Probably trust his lawyers that they're gonna get him out this jam, or he probably got a sweet deal, so now he's just waiting. Yap.
Markets, or were you deeply involved in the financial markets like you normally were?
No, I was involved.
And you, so we're saying that the smartest guy in the room didn't see it coming.
No, of course
The
not.
bankruptcy of Bear Stearns, you just thought was a Bear Stearns problem. You didn't see it as systemic.
I know you keep harping on it, but
Bear
it's
Stearns,
not.
Because
that's
you're a
where it worked.
mathematician and understands systems.
I-
It seems that anybody that understands that they had a systemic problem, you at least be the first on the early search radar. If you're not going to see it, then I'm really afraid, because that means that I always assume there's at least a set of guys out there that have some sort of sense that something's not right.
Imagine the guy who has a stroke or had the heart attack. When you ask him, did you feel funny the day before? Mm-hmm. He's going to tell you, yeah, I didn't feel right. Something was off. I didn't feel right.
Might be placebo effect, though.
My stomach was right. I felt a little dizzy. I felt a little weak. But if you asked him the day before, do you think you're going to have a heart attack tomorrow? He'd say, no, I just feel a little weak. I'm a little dizzy. My stomach hurts. So these systems, and that's the issue of complexity. What complexity says is that, in fact, everything seems to go along, and people have seen it. One of the great examples of complex systems is sand dunes. In fact, the sand keeps building up. People have seen some, and all of a sudden, one more sand drop, and all the sand starts running down the hills. That's the way I see the financial markets.
But you funded Santa Fe in the early 90s.
That's how fragile the financial market is? Like sand dunes, really? Well, in his eyes. Damn.
90s or late 80s?
I believe it was early 90s. I can get back to you.
But early 90s, Santa Fe was funded for the study of complexity theory.
It was math. So let's back up. So why did I buy a ranch in New Mexico in 1993? So that gives you some sense. So I would have funded it in 1990. Los Alamos, which was the high energy lab up in New Mexico, was losing all its scientists.
And Los Alamos, it was where Oppenheimer and where a lot of the nuclear weapons program, the bomb.
That's where the Manhattan Project.
Manhattan Project was
Yes,
as Los Alamos, and you bought your property out in New Mexico to be near that?
Yes, because the scientists were going to be, they cut the funding for high energy physics. But the people who worked in Los Alamos would still be in the Santa Fe area.
They cut that because this was the Cold War dividend, right?
I don't remember exactly why. It was because, again, people thought that physics and high energy physics really wasn't that important.
Because that was about nuclear weapons.
No, it was because they decided, which maybe not right. This was the same time that Murray Gell-Mann came up with the term quark, Q-U-A-R-K. He picked it out of an old poem, the word quark. But it was mysterious. So they were starting to understand in the 90s that in our world of the physics world, there was things that were just unexplainable. They called it strange things. You gave it a name. You gave it some characteristics. You called it had charm. It was one of the terms. It had a charm. It had a flavor. It had a color. But no one, Mr. Bannon, understood what it was. Just like the financial system.
And you wanted to investigate that?
I wanted to see if we could build tools so others smarter than me could help investigate it.
And that was the beginning of your concept of the Santa Fe Institute?
Yes.
And Santa Fe Institute was founded to do study in this type of...
Can these areas of strange things be described by some form of mathematics?
So that's what I'm trying to get at. The foundational thought, the organizing principle of Santa Fe,
yes,
in the high physics lab at Los Alamos,
right,
which had been the headquarters of Manhattan, and the Trinity Project, right, the bomb.
Yes.
So you're talking about the elite, the high priest
of physics.
Of physics.
Yes, sir.
Which high priest of physics, some subset of that is also mathematics.
Yes, they're both similar.
Project out. One of the tools you want to do is to make sure that in this complex system.
Yeah, their phrasing for shit is very spiritual, bro. The high priest of physics. He called derivatives esoteric. Interesting.
The finance system, I'm doing a lot of this for philanthropy and a lot for the good of mankind, but also to be able to understand this complex system, the most complex outside of maybe our body, of the financial world.
Yes.
Did they create tools, or were you smarter in then the mid-aughts, 15 years later, than you had been then because of work that was done at Santa Fe?
No. It was great. But in fact, most of the money, most of my philanthropy in the area of can you describe things that appear to be unexplainable by mathematics, and can you fund people who have new ideas? And unfortunately, when someone thinks they've been able to, there was a man, Stuart Kaufman, when they think I figured out how to be able to predict the unpredictable, what appears to other people to be unpredictable. But my system, in those days it was called genetic algorithms, can predict what things will happen, and they all want to make money. So they use their systems to try to figure out, they know they have figured out the way to make money because they figured out the unexplainable. They try, they go bankrupt, and we start again. So with a cold view, what I've come to realize is that the attempt to mathematize, formularize, or what in your prior work, to understand what really is, in today's world, still unexplainable, is impossible. They're miracles.
Your first head of Santa Fe was Christopher
Langdon, I think.
Langdon from Australia.
But Murray Gell-Mann was the funder. He was the rock.
Yes, he was the rock. He was a Nobel Prize winner?
Yes.
Yes, and a wonderful guy. He came out and helped us with the Biosphere 2 project. He came with Chris Langdon.
Yes.
Chris Langdon was the operator, the day-to-day guy.
Chris was doing artificial life.
Right.
Murray tried to lead his own artificial life.
Yes. When Chris came to Biosphere 2 for the first big conference we had in 1994, he was one of the most impressive guys there among all the world's elite. Kew Gardens, the Lawrence Livermore lab, the labs at Sandia, all the major universities, Lamont Doherty, all the big Earth observatories, Woods Hole. What set Langdon apart, I thought, and the reason I invited Santa Fe to be part of it, was Langdon actually made a presentation that everything, and he was making this to scientists, a lot of marine biologists, a lot of people that were just beginning, Wally Broker and people who were just beginning the study of climate change, at that time called global warming, that he made this compelling presentation that everything's really mathematics.
Yes.
It's all just back to math. And you have to, all these experiments you do, you're not, one of the reasons they're not considered by the high priest in physics as being real experiments is that they don't have a mathematical basis to it, and everything has a mathematical basis to it. Langdon seemed like a radical visionary. What happened to that concept?
Do you agree with it?
You go back 350 years. So you have Isaac Newton, you have Leibniz. From move forward, you have people like Heisenberg and Gödel, and what every one of those mathematicians and philosophers came to understand is that there's numbers can describe certain things, approximate certain things.
All right, talk to me.
But in fact, trying to put measurements and numbers on other things that are really unexplainable is folly. 300 years ago, they said that unexplainable realm was God. And people who attempted, in fact, to explain the unexplainable, who said, yes, I understand the unexplainable, were charlatans, they were the occults, they were the astrologers, they were the con men.
Alchemist.
Yes. Well, no, alchemist was, in fact, they believed that there was a way to transmute one metal into another. In fact, they always wanted to see if they can create gold. There's no reason, if you think about it, they recognize that one metal is different than another metal because it has some additional pieces to it. It has additional neutrons or protons or electrons. So because they thought it was a machine, they believed it was a machine, if I can take 5 protons and add 5, that gives me 10, I should be able to get gold. Move everything around inside these systems, the molecules transmute one molecule into another, and if this molecule I've transmuted it into is gold, I'm a rich man. It's back to money. But there's something strange happens. Isaac Newton says, this is really weird. If I want to push a ball on the table, I have to touch it. Maybe I have to blow on it. But I actually have to push one side of the ball or the book to move that side.
Yeah.
I'm pushing here, and obviously this thing is what appears to us humans to be solid, so it moves as one thing. But the only way to get something to move was to touch it or put a force against it. Mm-hmm. Okay, seems to make sense. Everybody has that experience. I want to lift a glass, I lift it. If I want to push a ball, I push it. If I want to pull a ball, I pull it.
Taking notes.
But he recognized when the ball fell off the table, it went in a different direction. How's that possible? Nobody pushed the ball down. And he said, this is crazy. Why did the ball go down? I didn't push it. I just let it go. So someone's pushing the ball. Because I know that I am confident that the only thing that gets something to move is with a force that pushes. So there's a force that's pushing the ball down. In fact, he called it gravity. He measured how fast it was pulled, but never was able to explain why it happened. How is it? What is gravity? It's this. Everybody says, well, why did the ball fall to the ground? Because gravity took it. But what's gravity? That's, as Feynman would say, that's the name of the thing. We have no idea what it is. This goes to Santa Fe. They were trying to explain the unexplainable. Can we figure out a way to predict the stock markets using these types of chaos complexity?
Before we get there, let's walk back through it. Let's go back to Newton.
Sure.
Pre-Newton and then Newton. What did Newton solve that for millennia up to Newton had not been solved?
About
and I want to
island,
go forward
nigga.
all the way to Santa Fe, what they were trying to solve. Let's start with just two or three of the basic guys. Let's go with Newton. What pre-Newton, it was what? And then why is Newton such a
genius?
In such a in the, I think mathematically they told me one time, I've seen there's been 115 billion people roughly that have lived on the earth. And of that 115 billion, Newton.
Are you sure that's a number? That sounds very high. We only have 7 now.
I think in the history of the earth, I think it's, I'll pull up the stat for you, but I think it's 115 billion people. They figure
that probably is inflation. That's why
have lived through the.
Right.
But he's one of the handful of the most important.
Type shit.
What did he solve for? Why is he so important for how we live today? And then we want to go through Leibniz and the other 2 or 3 other major ones to get us to Santa Fe.
Well, it's a long journey.
This is the heart of what we're trying to do.
Let me take a bit of a detour just a second. What if you went to high school and the last year in your high school, you took calculus? So Isaac Newton sort of invents calculus. Well, that sounds invents, mathematicians.
To torture seniors in high school before they graduate.
Yes, but obviously, no. Yes, the answer is yes. Certain people could never do calculus.
Why is it? Why is calculus why is that the dividing line between, to me, people who can handle that and can go on to do certain things, and people just hit the wall, even if they know math? It seems to me that there's that calculus is the thing that changes. It bridges. That's because it's about the theory of change and the theory of how things change.
It's a great question. But in fact, what calculus does is it's somewhat philosophical. That's why mathematics is Newton wasn't a mathematician, he was called a geometer. That's what they used to call themselves. They understood geometry and numbers. But there's an old conundrum where it says, and during Pythagoras' days, Zeno's paradox it's called, where they said, well, if the wall is 2 feet away from me, and I take one step that's halfway to the wall, that'll be 1 foot away. And if I take another step that's half again, that'll be half a foot away, and then a quarter of a foot. I could walk forever but never touch the wall. Doesn't sound realistic, doesn't make any sense in our real lives of the physical. But what Newton understood is many problems were like that. Many things approached the wall, or in calculus, approached the limit, but never really reached it. So he said, it's okay, you don't have to reach it. We can do lots of the mathematics.
Dookie, when are you going to go kiss the wall with me? Dookie, when are you going to come to Israel and kiss the wall with me, bro?
It was almost there. And we could do lots of mathematics almost being at the limit. And this is really important, Steve, for today.
Do that.
Because most of the science up until today was things that are starting to approach the limit. You were taught in high school that if you had 1 divided by 0.
Put that in the back. I don't know. She doesn't look like she got any cake, though. Skinny ass legs.
If you remember your high school algebra, you were told, what's the answer to that? Is there an answer to 1 divided by 0? No, if you were in high school, I'd say, stay away from it. It's the boogeyman. You could write it down as it's undefined. It's not able to be determined. There's a bunch of things. But in fact, 1 divided by 0 is a strange things happen. It's a world of the strange. And what I'll explain to you after is that when you get 1 divided by 0, you get into a world we don't know what happens. The answer is it's not explainable. We can call it things like undetermined. We can have a convention to say it's X, Y, or Z. But in real life, we don't know what happens when you are actually at the limit. So Newton thought the same concept is that the limits were God. You got close to God, but you can never be God. He had this sort of religious interpretation.
Okay, I want to go back to Newton. Why is Newton such a big dividing line in
This is who's interviewing him, by the way.
What is about what he's trying to solve? What did they not know beforehand, and what? Because
this is who's interviewing.
To a degree, in a
Newtonian
universe, although I realized later subparticle atomic physics, but at least for a while it was Newtonian. So what's the dividing line? Why is he so important? Why is he an inflection point in mankind's movement from the swamp to the stars?
It's a great question. The stars were by Kepler. What Newton starts to allow us to do is to make accurate predictions. Remember that we've talked about that with money, about the things in our physical world, how cars, he didn't have cars, how horse carriages moved, how bowling balls moved, how pool cues and pool table balls.
Had people tried to solve that before Newton?
Many.
Heraclitus or Plotinus, Pythagoras had these great.
Bro, instead of an interview,
had they tried to solve the same problem?
This feels more like a podcast. This feels more like a podcast than an interview. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Same problem. They try to, again, what Pythagoras does, he starts to figure out this relationships in triangles. For example, everyone knows the a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. That Pythagorean theorem, which is basically says these shapes in a triangle, each side of the triangle has a fixed relationship with the other two sides. That's strange. He knew, again, but it was all numbers. This was a system of things in the physical world, and Pythagoras says we can start putting numbers on things that help you predict how they will behave. You can add two triangles and make a square, some different shapes. They were looking at geometric forms. Newton says, well, I want to know how planets move. I want to know how things around me move. Can we find formulas? Can I find formulas that explain what I see in the physical world, how physical things interact and how they describe one another? Again, the fact that two solid masses, for some very strange, unknown reason, unknown today, attract one another, no matter what they are. People have seen the experiment. You hang something, two little metal balls from a string, and they move towards each other. In fact, they move towards each other was very specific. So when you drop the ball to the floor of this room, Newton says, in fact, the room came up a bit to meet the ball. The room moved. It's imperceptible. You can't really perceive that motion, but they attracted each other with certain ratios. So he started to be able to measure things in the physical world. And that was great advances. It also, you wanted to move very quickly. Unfortunately, most people, especially in the 20th century, 19th century, said, well, like Newton, let's measure everything. Let's measure people's behavior. Let's measure their psychology. Let's measure their health. You go to we could have my blood test. Let's measure everything. We measure Wall Street.
Their voting habits.
Measure. Can we put a number on how much I care for my wife? Could I put a number on how I feel? And we tried.
Can you put a number on how much you care for your loved one? I love everyone. Can't put a number on how much I love you guys. I just know I love you guys, man. You know what I'm saying? I got love for y'all. Thank you.
Fortunately, we try to mathematize the finer things in life, and then recognize that there's things that unfortunately just fall outside. Schrodinger wrote a very famous book about what is life. He was trying to figure out a way, can he describe the difference formulaically between things that are alive and things that are dead? The answer is no. The things that are alive in my world are miracles, not magic. Magic has a bad connotation, trying to hide things.
You don't believe in the spirit or the soul? That's what animates people, is your spirit or your soul. But have you ever seen someone die? When they die, their spirit leaves.
Their soul leaves, no question. So
there's no question to you.
So you believe in the soul.
There's no question to you that there is some animating life force within us that leaves when you're dead.
Yes, in fact, I refer to the soul. Obviously, there's certain the questions in the past, even
because
during
people would normally think you were soulless. So
thank you.
Have you talk about you actually believe in it and have.
Yo, nah, he slowly he getting them in there, man. He just he's getting them in there though. I ain't gonna lie. Ain't really jabs, it's more like he going for body shots.
Done some thinking about it is pretty shocking in its own right, isn't it?
Well, again, mathematics, Leibniz thought.
So Newton was at Cambridge, and he was the head of the math department, right? He's a professor, essentially. Yes. But Leibniz, was Leibniz a German professor?
Yes, but what Leibniz said is the soul is so strange because God took chemicals, which is simply the material, like tables, And he somehow made this material able to have a thought. How strange is that? Not only does it have a soul, but this some way it was put together that this material substance is able to think. So when you say to me, it's obvious to everyone that there's such a thing as a soul. Now, if you're part of the Charlatanville, you'll try to explain it to people. The soul I describe as the dark matter of the brain. Why is it dark matter? Because in high energy physics nowadays, you hear terms of dark matter, dark energy. Again, terminology, complicated term. Why is it dark matter? Because we can't see it, that's all. What do you mean you can't see it? Well, somehow we see something moving towards this area of darkness. Something, I can see this thing. This appears to me to be empty. It's just black. But I see it being drawn this way. So I say, well, I know if this were matter, that would follow that equation. If this was solid, it would explain the way this particle moves. But I can't see anything here. So I'll just call it dark matter. And I'll say, I don't know what it is, but it behaves as if there was something there. The soul is obvious to everyone that there's something different between things that are alive and things that are not alive. But we have no idea what it is. It's currently unexplainable. I believe we need an entirely different system of analysis to try to figure out.
But
Sorry.
No, with Newton, with all his chemical studies and things he worked on the spiritual side, Leibniz had just talked about the soul, Schroeder talked about what it's like. If a modern scientist or someone that you funded at MIT or at Harvard or one of these things talked in those types of terms, they would be considered to be a wingnut today, wouldn't they? They would not be on the path for tenure, right?
Unless they were in the philosophy department.
This is exactly my point. We're talking about three of the greatest mathematicians in mankind's history that have really changed mankind. Talking like this, what happened? How do we get to a situation where they could not be in the high physics, they could not be in the mathematics department or working in high energy physics?
Good, it's an easy answer. Newton was a combination of mathematician or geometer then and philosopher. And as time went on, those disciplines seemed to move apart. We had philosophy, some of the philosophers can't do math, and some of the mathematicians. And again, mathematicians often break into two categories. People that solve problems, those are more like geometers in the old days, just problem solvers. And then there's thinkers, theoreticians. They're more like the old movement towards philosophy. But neither one of those two groups have been able to figure out why something is alive as opposed to something that's not alive. No one's been able to describe what the soul is, but we all know it exists. And I think what we need is science is a bad word. I think science only describes the things we already know about the physical world. In fact, there's an argument that the physical world that we see has been created out of our systems of mathematics. Mathematics, everyone knows mathematics describes the physical world much greater than it should, unless my view, the physical world really comes out of conscious beings that have mathematics. So they create it. This table appears to you and I to be solid. To a bat, because we have light that's bouncing off the table into our eyes, it appears solid.
Yeah.
If instead of eyes that responded to wavelengths of visual light, our eyes responded to radio waves, the radio frequencies, it's not different, it's the same type of frequency as light, but different speeds, the table's invisible. We know that our phone works in this room. So the waves are coming through the windows, the waves are coming through the walls. So the walls are invisible to that type of radiation, that type of energy. The walls I can see them because my eyes, a physical system determines that the walls are there.
You, with with Murray
Excuse
Gelman,
me.
you founded, or were the original donor, and had the idea of Santa Fe Institute. In 10 or 15 years later, that effort to study the complexity of systems mathematically
Yes.
was
It's a
essentially
total failure.
A
Yes.
total failure.
Total failure.
Why is that?
It's the failure of science because, in fact, if to some extent science doesn't describe romance. I don't know why I'm attracted to somebody. I don't know. People are attracted to each other.
Okay.
And everyone has the same feeling.
Do you know what? So you don't know why you're attractive to, I don't know, little children?
They've seen someone walk in the room and they say, "Oh, that person gives me a creepy feeling." Science has tried to describe. Science doesn't describe what creepy feelings means. They just know it's a creepy feeling. I think women, as I said the last time, have an intuitive sense. What is intuitive? They have intuition, they have feelings, and they're able to deal in the realm of things that men, especially men like myself, find unexplainable. Women have intuition, men see things a bit differently. Men want to measure everything. Women are not really that interested in measuring.
In what you're saying in macro terms, you actually think science, mathematics, maybe ultimately technology is moving to that more intuitive?
I think science and math are old-fashioned. And unfortunately, people are still taught that they have to learn algebra in school and certain things in school, as opposed to learning to have an emotion.
Is this what Larry Summers was trying to get at? Maybe he didn't say it perfectly enough, but what he was trying to get to in that system, the systems we study today, the way mathematics is either taught or understood, that women just haven't gotten up to the highest realms of engineering or physics or mathematics because of that. And you're actually implying that there's a either new branch of science, or we've hit an inflection point like in Newton that's going to go in a Newton took mankind in a different direction because he was able to measure. Then you had subatomic, non-Newtonian physics later. Are you saying that you think there's another developing field that's coming up that may take us, I don't know how many decades to get our hands around, but that's what's evolving out of this?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, I think that mathematics, it's not the end of science. Every year someone says it's the end of, we can't discover everything. There's lots to discover with relationship to the physical world, but we know a lot already. In respect to the unexplainable world, we almost know nothing.
So
women, again,
the spiritual world.
And instead of Larry Summers, I won't digress too much, but Howard Gardner early on said, there's not one form of intelligence. It's not mathematical intelligence. There's emotional intelligence. There's kinesthetic intelligence. There's this argument that I reject that black people are less intelligent than white people. It's not true. We know, for example, that...
Thank you, Jeff, because I never believed that either. But I'm gonna end it here for today, for this session. Very, 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 very packed conversation. Very high level conversation. These are conversations you can't really have with everyday people. Not a lot of people are willing to sit down and talk about philosophy. Not everyone is willing to sit down every day and talk about philosophy. Not everyone is willing to sit down and talk about fields and high finance and the way the world works, politics, power, how we got here, history. I dabble in some of this stuff, but some of my friends call me lame for caring about this shit. To each his own. If I'm lame for caring about this shit, you're a faggot. But here we are. Probably gonna have to cut that or bleep it. But yeah, hit the likes, hit the links in the description, subscribe. Part 3 is we're gonna finish off this podcast / interview tomorrow. See you guys in the next one. It's been your boy Jacob Duran. Peace. Peace.